Odo prepares Kira's Raktajino every Tuesday morning. Shakar wants Bajor to join the Federation. Quark says last night it sounded like a Takaran wildebeest was tromping around upstairs, but Odo says once Quark complained, he took the form of a Raphalian mouse, of course. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
We are also joined by a very special guest today. You know him as Shakar, First Minister Shakar, that is. You also know him as the sex candle ghost in The Next Generation, Mr. Duncan Regehr. How are you, Duncan?
Pretty good. Hi, everybody.
Awesome. So, Cirroc is having technical difficulties right now, so he is the icon, everybody, that you see in the bottom of the picture. He is here. He is present. He is excited to join us. My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we are doing a review of Deep Space Nine Season 4, Crossfire. Cirroc, it's directed by Mr. Les Landau, a man we haven't spoken of.
Yes,
recently.
yes. Less is more. Our favorite guy from the self-sealing stem bolts.
Right. And it's written by Renee Echevarria. So let's talk about this episode very quickly. Duncan, you played Shakar, First Minister Shakar, in 3 episodes of Deep Space Nine, this being
Right.
the second one. The first episode was called Shakar. Do you remember the auditioning process? Did you know anything about Star Trek at all before you auditioned?
To be honest, not that much. I mean, I was familiar, growing up. I watched the Bill Shatner version of Star Trek, and then later I did the Sex Candle Ghost for Next Generation, so I had some familiarity there. But in terms of Deep Space Nine, I came onto it without auditioning for it.
Oh, great.
And I was really only familiar with that one episode. I thought that was sort of what it was all that I was going to be doing on it. I didn't realize there were going to be subsequent episodes. It's always something that, often discussed in meetings about these things, that you'll play this character and there's a possibility that, he'll be ongoing. And, I would listen to that and think, okay, I'll believe it when I see it, that sort of thing. But, so.
Now, you said you didn't have to audition for this role?
No.
They just handed it to you?
Well, I don't know what went on behind the scenes to make it happen, but I just remember, the offer coming through, and I said, I read the script, and I said, yes, Shakar's an interesting character, and yeah, I'll play him. Fine.
Yeah, your work preceded you there. Because you said you had already worked on The Next Generation, and a lot of Star Trek likes to reuse actors that they know. They say, what about this guy? He was really good in such and such. I bet he could play this.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Were you living in Canada at the time?
Yes, I was. Well, I was sort of commuting back and forth between Los Angeles and Vancouver Island at that time.
Okay.
Cirroc, I'm kind of bummed, though. I got to be honest. I'm kind of bummed that we can't see your face, because we didn't mention the Sex Candle Ghost, and I really wanted to see your reaction when I said that.
You said Sex Candle Ghost. You might have to put that in perspective for me.
Sure, I'm not sure if it's Sex Scandal Ghost or Sex Candle Ghost.
Candle.
I just found out about it myself recently, that's what that character was called. That's kind of a notorious episode of Star Trek Next Generation. People either love it or they're highly critical. There's a lot of criticism about it.
Right. It's just something, Cirroc, that happened that kind of started getting notoriety recently. It was an episode on Next Generation where Beverly Crusher is seeing a ghost played by Duncan. And I don't really remember the episode too much, and we haven't watched it yet together. But it's become pretty famous. Once Star Trek fans, all it takes is for one of them to bring up an episode or a character again, and then everybody jumps on. They're like, yeah, what was up with that guy, And then, of course, when people realize that that's the same guy that plays Shakar, then everybody's mind gets blown.
Yeah. The episode, by the way, was called Sub Rosa.
Right. That's right. Sub Rosa.
Sub Rosa.
So you acted in Next Generation, then they asked you to return as Shakar.
Yeah.
The first episode, though, you didn't set foot on Deep Space Nine. You were with Nana Visitor as Kira, and that's basically it as far as the main cast, if I remember correctly, in that episode. So you didn't first set foot on the set of Deep Space Nine until this episode.
Right.
Do you remember your first impressions or any thoughts or memories you have of coming onto the set?
I was actually kind of baffled because there was this character change for Shakar. I played the sort of swashbuckling, rebel leader, come farmer, sort of type of character in the Shakar.
Mm-hmm.
And when they came up with this, arriving on the Space Nine set and in the new position of being a prime minister, suddenly there was a different character to Shakar altogether. From my point of view, I didn't really understand too much about what was going on. I felt a little bit at sea, to be quite frank. I really didn't know what to make of it.
Now, do you remember anything that maybe the director, Les Landau, or any of the producers or writers said to you to kind of help you get your bearings? Did they give you like some backstory, like here's what's going on, this is what your character's gone through?
A little bit, just factual stuff about that he's become the prime minister now, and suddenly I had a very nice haircut, and and Shakar suddenly became more refined and sophisticated, or whatever the character was supposed to be. I never figured it out, to be really honest with you. I never figured it out. And the other thing about, coming onto a set like that, there's a lot of presumption that all this stuff about everybody else. I didn't have a clue.
Right.
I didn't know who anybody knew. Nana, who was, very gracious and lovely and easy to fall in love with, and, quite wonderful. And she made me very welcome. And so did Renee. He was quite lovely. So I could kind of ask questions about what's this? What's that? Who is this person? What is that? And I remember point. I'm not sure if it was this episode or maybe the subsequent one, but Avery came on and we had some sort of little scene with him, and there was the emissary was continually referred to. And I kept looking around for the emissary. Going to arrive here. And Nana sort of whispered in my ear and said, "Avery is the emissary." oh, okay. And I thought, he's Avery. But it never occurred to me. He's Avery
Right.
Brooks. He's a wonderful musician, actor. He couldn't be the emissary. It just never occurred to me.
That's funny.
So there was that kind of, I don't know, in a fog, really.
Yeah.
Had you worked with Renee or Avery in the past?
I hadn't worked with Avery, but I had with Renee. Renee and I did Gore Vidal's Billy the Kid some years before that in Tucson.
Gore Vidal. Interesting.
Yeah.
Gore Vidal's.
That's a name.
And it was Val Kilmer, me. Val played Billy the Kid, and I played Pat Garrett. And Renee played the drunk. He was a beautiful drunk.
Really? Wow. Got to see that. So this was actually a very important episode in the Deep Space Nine lore. Just to give you a little bit of background on this, this is season 4 out of 7. And I think the writers started giving us hints that Odo likes Kira, I think towards the end of the second season. But this kind of gives us a much bigger window into that, not just with the scenes with you in particular, but also with the scenes not with you when he talks with another character named Quark. And so this is, obviously it's what they call kind of a bottle episode where it's just kind of by itself. It's its own thing. You can put it anywhere, but it's part of this 6 or 7 season long story between Odo and Kira, and it's a very important moment. And I'm only assuming that they may not, Duncan, have told you this, that it's really part of this really big picture. Whereas you as an actor, you're just like, what are my roles? What's the subtext? By the way, huge amounts of subtext in every one of these scenes, which I really loved.
Yes, I did too. I really love that.
Mm-hmm. So Duncan, did they ever give you any discussion or notes about like the bigger meaning behind things, or did they think it was better for you as an actor to play a character that doesn't know about all this bigger picture stuff?
Yeah, I guess maybe that was it. I mean, I did ask a lot of questions about it, but as you say, their concerns were for these two mainstream characters, I think, and what was going to unfold between them. I picked that up, of course.
Yeah.
But it became a character that seemed to me to be sort of almost in homage to the other characters in the show. That's what I got that much from it. But I really was in the dark for a lot of it. I didn't really understand it.
Interesting.
But I have to say, Nana and Renee were very, very helpful. They were wonderful, in fact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you come across as a real stud on camera. And I just, as a man who's comfortable with himself, I can say that you are a handsome, good-looking guy and real debonair. And I think that it really plays well in this episode how everything that you're expressing is exactly what Odo can't find the words to say.
Yeah.
And I just love the way the writers kind of put that in together so that you were revealing in confidence, how you felt, but it was actually how he felt as well. And I just thought it was so clever.
Yeah, I guess so.
But I wanted to ask you a little bit about your background, though, because Ryan, I know you probably know this, but I was completely intrigued to find out that you had so much talent, Duncan. It said that you were a figure skater and a Olympic boxer, and I mean, I was hearing about all this stuff about you. Not to mention you're like this world-renowned artist. I wanted you to talk about a little bit about your history growing up before acting.
Okay. Yeah, I think I knew pretty early on that I was going to entertain being an actor. I think I knew that by the time I was 12. But previous to that, I was much more interested in literature and painting. My father was a painter.
Yes.
And I sort of had this idea in my head from a very young age that I was going to be an artist, a painter, and then subsequently a sculptor as well. But and along the way, I was sort of thrust into this thing of figure skating, which was very, very physical and what have you. But I wasn't interested in it. I was pretty good at it. I wasn't. I just wasn't interested in it, and went in the other direction when I was old enough to say, no, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm going to go into this other area, this other field of sport, which was boxing. Not the best thing for an actor to be doing, but
that's gambling with your moneymaker right there.
Well, I did okay, but yeah, it was my Hemingway moment, I guess. In my 20s, I wanted to really prove something to myself more than anything else. And so all of that sort of went along at the same time that I was, working on the theater. In the theater, I started when I was 16 in Shakespeare, and subsequently went to Stratford, and then eventually came to Hollywood with that. But all throughout all of that, I was painting, avidly painting.
Speaking of painting, you are quite the accomplished painter, and we're told that you're currently preparing for a solo exhibit at Petley Jones Gallery in Vancouver this fall.
Yeah, it'll be later this year. in the fall. It's I usually do as many as I can, in whatever part of the world I can do them in. But at the moment, that's not happening for the obvious reason. But yes, Vancouver is around the corner from me, so yeah, it's going to happen there.
And now everybody that's listening in here, by the way, his website is duncanregehrartworks.com. We will include that in the description box below, so please check that out to know everything that you want to know about this art exhibit, as well as the latest book that Duncan is compiling called Solace, which is a follow-up to your 2018 volume Presence, which combined a selection of poetry and paintings, both done by you, because you apparently are good at basically everything. Apparently. So, can you hold up your book you showed?
Yeah, sure. I got one right here. I knew you'd ask. So
yeah, great. Look at that.
Yeah, maybe two.
That's gorgeous. It almost has a feel of like old school, like almost like tarot cards or Renaissance drawings. It definitely is very reminiscent of that kind of feeling. What's your biggest inspiration when you're drawing or painting?
Well, most of my work is figurative, so I would have to say human beings and the human condition. A lot of my work comes out of philosophy and theory, and what I'm interested in at the moment. So I've sort of, done the gamut of anything from literature, history, and anthropology, psychology, sociology. All of those things are pretty influential, and I suppose metaphysics as well. Mm-hmm. Quantum physics.
Yes, Cirroc, I'm sorry you couldn't see the painting, but I'll try to describe it to you. It's like this big dragon flying out of the Deep Space Nine wormhole. The emissary is riding in on a Pegasus with a lasso. It's really cool. You'd love it.
Yeah, I'm sure. No, I'm actually looking at other pieces of work that he's done, and this one piece called Blinder's Wall, which I believe is in British Columbia, on display at the Petley Jones Gallery, it says, but I'm not sure if it's still there. This piece looks really beautiful, Blinder's Wall.
Thank you. Yes, it was shown there as part of the first Presence exhibit to launch the recent book, Presence.
I love that piece. Piece. Also,
there's three at Blinder's Wall paintings, and they're sort of connected to each other.
Yeah, I love the graffiti in the background and the way it just looks so beautiful. It's just gorgeous, man.
Now, sorry to interrupt, Cirroc, but while we're talking about that, Duncan, these are all things people can purchase this book and your subsequent book on your website, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, great. Everybody, I mean, Christmas is just around the corner. We're 11 months away only. No, but really, everybody, go to the website that we will include in the link, the description box below. Check it out. Lots of really good stuff. Cirroc's got a keen eye on art, as we all know, and it's definitely worth a look. Sorry, you were saying, Cirroc?
Yeah, I don't know about the keen eye part, but I do respect some really quality stuff. And I mean, clearly this is like, way above my pay grade. I see also this one called Lunaris from the Lost Man series.
Oh, right.
Lost Man series.
Yeah.
Just gorgeous artwork, guys. You got to really check this stuff out. The detail's amazing. It looks, in the one that I'm looking at, the man riding this horse, it looks just like he's draped in this really colorful African kind of print clothing or cloth, but I'm not sure if that's what I'm looking at is what I'm, is the right thing, but
probably more
just amazing
than that. Yeah.
Yeah. There's I mean, it's just, I love your style, and I'm sure it would be a pleasure to have one of your pieces on the wall.
Now, basically what we're saying is we can totally understand why Kira fell in love with you. It's so obvious. You're 6'4", multi-talented. We only have a couple minutes left before we have to take our break, and I know you have to run. But before we do that, can we just touch on your poetry a little bit? This was something I didn't know about until a couple days ago. What's your biggest influence as a poet, or who, I should say?
Oh gosh, there's quite a few. I would say T.S. Eliot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You know, more modern would be Billy Collins. You know, and they're a million miles apart from each other. I realize that. It would be the big influences would be these guys for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's several others more obscure than that. Yeah.
Cool. So before you do go, can you give us any final thoughts on your experience on Deep Space Nine, any of the 3 episodes? Was there anything that stands out? Like if you reminisce about your old days on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, is there anything that pops out? Is it how gracious Nana or Renee were? Was it how big the set was of Deep Space Nine? Was there anything that stood out to you?
Well, all of that is pretty, it's a long time ago, but it was pretty awe-inspiring. The very first episode, Shakar, of course, was in exteriors, and we're in some canyon somewhere. But, when you arrive on the set with with these doors that opened automatically, and I was really surprised to discover the guy behind me on the either side opening the door for me, because I thought it was quite magical. One just sort of expects that, but you do get the feeling that you're floating. That's what I felt like all the time, that I was in outer space. Of course I was.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Yeah.
And even in between scenes, I'd sit in the chairs, and Renee usually was holding forth with some wonderful opinion or viewpoint on something, and he was a wonderful raconteur as well. But even when we were sitting in the chairs, I still felt like we were in outer space. We weren't shooting any scenes, but I felt that, almost shocked to step outside the stage door and say, oh, Hollywood.
Yeah. Wow.
I've had that same kind of feeling too, because they have these curtains outside of the windows with the black velvet and these diamond-like stars, right? And so as you're looking out of the windows, it really does feel like you're kind of floating in space.
Yeah.
That's so funny, because I really was wondering that on this very episode, when Shakar and Kira share their moment of watching the wormhole open and saying, oh, if you see the wormhole open, there's a wish. And Odo it's a beautiful scene. It's just hilarious and sad all at the same time. But I remember looking out at the stars out there and going, wow, that really does look like you guys are out floating in space. And I wondered if it felt that way to you guys too. So I'm really glad that you guys brought that up, because I was literally wondering that because of that scene.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So we do have to take our quick break, and Mr. Duncan Regehr does have to leave. He's a very busy man, and we want to thank you very much for joining us for this. This has been really great.
Really, it's been lovely chatting with both of you. Thank you.
That's awesome. I wish I could have seen you in person. I did see you for a short time when we were when I was trying to load in, but I do see you here, and it's so great that you were able to take some time out to be on the show. And what a great performance. Obviously, you're the type of guy that could make another guy jealous, and you did a good job of that in this episode.
You did a good job of that in this episode, he says.
He sure did.
No, it was great.
I look forward to shaking hands with you one day. It'd be great.
Oh, it'll be my pleasure.
Yeah, and definitely like what Cirroc is alluding to, what we're discussing, in the bigger picture, you are a major element in this storyline between these two main characters. It's a very poignant episode and very poignant moment for the two of them. It's beautiful. It's great.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much, Duncan. We appreciate your time. Everybody, please check out his website and the social media links that we will include in the description box below. Show him some love. He's a great dude. And we'll be right back on the the seventh rule. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the seventh rule with Cirroc Lofton. Look at that.
All right.
We've got everything ironed out. I have a confession to make, Cirroc. It was my fault because I'm usually okay with being the second best looking guy in a recording, but when there are two guys on better, then I'm like, all right, so I kind of like tamper with things, and I'm like, darn. Oops. Sorry about that, guys.
Can't see you.
We can't see your face. I don't know why. Anyway, so real quick, the trivioids that may or may not have made the cutting room floor. Odo prepares Kira's Raktajino every Tuesday morning, which I thought was beautiful. Shakar wants Bajor to join the Federation. Quark says last night it sounded like a Takaran wildebeest was tromping around there. Odo says, well, once you complained, I took the form of a Raphalian mouse. And remember the rule I said, it's always something that ends in IAN, Takarian or Raphalian, and an animal that's here on this planet. Moose, wildebeest, mouse, bat, condor, whatever. Every time. Odo, right?
It is. Yeah.
Odo wants to cancel the First Minister's Conference. Commander Eddington is on leave. That was interesting. Worf that's a NAM for Eddington, actually. Worf knows where everything is in his quarters with his eyes closed. Vedic Tansa is the best spring ball player on the station. Quark loses his Ferengi eavesdropping device. There's a new Bolian restaurant that's pretty good, Kira says. Odo throws a tantrum in his quarters, and Quark is losing money on the manhunt pool. Wow, lots of them today.
Yeah, this episode was filled with a lot of stuff, and it was kind of like we were discussing earlier with Duncan. It's a pivotal episode as far as relationship building goes between Kira and Odo, and they really grow by leaps and bounds in just this one episode, right?
Yeah, I feel like this was the first episode. I mean, there was the one where they're stuck in the cave too, where Odo kind of confesses his love to her, but it's not really her. But this was the one that was really a chapter in the love story. And I'm not a big love story guy, but this one was done so well with so much subtext in every scene. And when Odo shows up to Kira's quarters without the belt, I noticed it right away. And you notice that, and you're like, oh, that's a great writing tool right there.
I think the writers did a tremendous job in this one, especially like I was discussing earlier, by putting Odo's thoughts and words in Shakar's mouth, right? So
yes.
Everything he was thinking, everything he was feeling, he was having to hear somebody else say it. And I thought the writers did a great job of kind of delving into that relationship and getting deep into the woods with just using that kind of language and putting it in somebody else's territory.
Yeah, and Odo, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, the synopsis will be all about Shakar and Kira, but truly, this episode was about Odo. We were going with Odo on his journey. We were watching how he was feeling. We were feeling for him. And he did such a good job of acting so subtly that we still catch it, but it's a hard thing to do, to play a stoic character that doesn't show emotions, but shows just enough for the people to look closely and see the reaction in his eyes, because we know he's feeling something. So we're looking for it,
I thought Odo's facial expressions were hilarious in this one. I just kept writing down goofy Odo face, broken heart Odo face.
Puppy dog face.
Puppy dog, make-a-wish face. When they were sitting there looking out at the wormhole, and they said, every time, you make a wish when the wormhole opens and closes, and they look back at Odo, and Odo's just
yes. Oh, so good. So good.
He's acting like he's inspecting the doorway for cracks or something.
Yeah, because you totally imagine that he's like, that they're looking at him, and then just that second before they look, he goes like, I'm just, oh boy, what is going on over there? So awkward for him.
I was busting out laughing watching those moments, and his facials were unbelievable. I mean, considering the guy's wearing all this prosthetic to basically suppress his facial expressions and suppress his, ability to be able to move his face around, he expressed so much through his subtle movements, through his eyes. I love, for example, when he was waiting for Kira to come into the office and he had her, drink ready, and he was,
that was so cute.
He was so smitten and like a kid with a secret and he just can't wait to tell it. And she was so oblivious to it. And I just love the way he was, just conveying so much without even saying much, right?
Right. Right.
Amazing.
And when it opens up to Odo just turning this just so perfectly and checking this, and what time is it? It's 7:59, and we're like, my first thought was, does he do this every morning? Because that does not seem in character for him. I'm thinking in character for him would be to make sure everything is perfectly tidied up at night before he leaves. That's how an anal person would be. They wouldn't be doing it beforehand. But then Kira walks in and we get it. We're like, oh, I see. It's not every time. It's every Tuesday morning. He has the special day with Kira. And the other thing I was thinking is Ractigino with two, what was it? 2 measures of kava. I'm like, but he doesn't, I don't get it. But then again, the writers set this up so beautifully to where it does make you wonder, what's he doing? What's going on? I don't get it. Oh, that's why. It's adorable. It's brilliant.
And then also the back end. So like, he's like, you haven't taken a sip of your coffee this morning, or, or your Ractigino. And then she's like, oh no, I already had one. And, just the way that is exposed right through the language and the dialogue, it feels real to me, because that's like something I think all of us have had at one moment or another, where you're not just me. Like, well, not you.
No, just kidding.
The ladies' man.
No.
But it reminded me when I was in high school, I had a crush on this girl, Sherry, and I was trying to work up my nerve to tell her that I had a crush on her, right? But I was always nice with her and friendly, and that's how we built our friendship. But she didn't know that I really liked her. And so I finally kind of worked up the nerve one day in class, and we have that little time before the teacher gets in the class. So we have about 5 minutes of just hanging around time. And I start to walk towards her desk, much like Odo is kind of like, I'm going to spill the beans now.
Here we go. So I've been working to this for months.
Yeah. And so I walk over to her desk and I start to, say, all right, just do it. Ask her to the prom or whatever it was, dance that I was trying to get her to. And as I walk up to her desk, I see her doodling in her notebook and, just doodling. And it was just, I love David. And all these hearts. And I'm
maybe you misread it. Maybe you took that too.
Yeah. No, I felt exactly how Odo felt when it's like, oh, you love somebody else, or you like somebody else, and then but I want to be the one, and
so what did you say? Were you like, oh, I was just coming by because I wanted a piece of gum?
Yeah, no, I did what Odo did. I said, who's David? I told him to investigate.
Who the fuck is David?
Who's this David guy? And how did he get in before me? He doesn't go to school here, does he?
Yeah, who do I have to kneecap all of a sudden?
So, yeah, I totally get the feeling of, having feelings for somebody and trying to work up the nerve to be able to tell them, because, it just means that much to you.
No, I get you, man. Without getting into any specific stories, I was a very short and scrawny and young-looking child, all the way up forever throughout all of school. So believe me,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I know all about it, but I will say this, that in that scene you're talking about, where is it? But at that moment, I was like, I put in capital letters in my notes, Constable Friendzone, because that's it. He's officially Constable Friendzone. And boy, oh boy, we certainly felt it, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where you kind of have to let things play out and hope that things work in your favor. It's kind of weird because you're like, you don't want to say, I hope you break up and have a terrible relationship with your boyfriend, right? But that's what you're really wishing in your head so that you have the chance, right? So
right. And that actually, that's where it was. To add insult to injury is the line when Kira says, I'm so glad you're the first person to know. And she hugs him and he's like, That's just the worst.
And the other part of it is, the other part of this whole little dynamic is when somebody else takes notice of something that you've been hiding. And that's where Quark, I think, comes to play in this story, right? When Quark realizes it and calls Odo out on it, Odo gets really defensive, defensive. None of your business. Yeah. He storms out of there. Keep your, it's not true. And I thought that was also rings true to me, because it's like, oh, you've been discovered. Somebody else knows your secret, and you kind of don't want anybody else to know.
Right.
But I thought there were great moments too in that, in the Quark Odo dynamic.
Like this one here.
Yeah, that. Yeah.
Beautiful. And when he checks on him, and then Odo says, for a moment there, I almost thought you were checking in on me as a friend. And then Quark pauses and looks at him for a long time and goes, nah. But we're like, yeah.
Yeah. And that was another just really growth in their relationship, right? That's when I think this episode just solidifies the fact you are truly my good friend on this station, in this journey of life. And I felt that moment transpire between the two of them.
Yeah, it's strange.
Funny, for a moment, I thought you were talking to me as a friend. That's what he said. Yeah, you were saying.
It's strange because it's almost like Quark is Odo's best friend, and that just might be because of not just there's a certain amount of mutual respect for the cleverness that they each have. They both kind of respect the other person's cleverness, but also because they kind of spend almost the most time interacting with each other. So they can't help but build this familiarity, and they're, so even if they're always squabbling, there's definitely something there, and at the end when Odo says, or Quark says, hey, you put up all this soundproofing, and I really appreciate it. And Odo says, if you think I'd put up with 3 days of construction just for you, think again. But of course, again, we're all like, no, yes, you would. You did. That's so sweet.
Yeah. And I guess what we realize too is how much alike they are, because there was a moment in this episode where Kira says to Odo, she's like, well, what are the chances that your quarters would end up directly above Quark's? That's just completely lucky. And he says luck had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Right?
He just wants to torture him.
But that also reveals a similar characteristic that Quark has. Quark is also conniving and calculative in that kind of a way, right?
Mm-hmm. And they both like messing with the other one.
Exactly. So they're kind of two sides of the same coin. One is the law breaker and one is the law enforcement, right? Mm-hmm. But they're still almost identical in personality and their methodical approach to how they dissect things, right? It's not a random thing. Oh, I was looking for that little eavesdrop device. You know, my brother Rom, he's
Yeah, like it was a baby monitor for Rom.
yeah. And I love that. And it was so quick. He didn't lose a beat. He just went right to the sympathy sob story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on, man, you're not gonna let. And then Odo does the funny, like, oops, did I drop that? Oh, right,
that was
into
great.
the punch.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
These are the kinds of episodes, and I've mentioned this before. For me, as a person that's seen all these before, most of them multiple times, but these are the ones that I find a new appreciation for now upon rewatch. Because back when I used to watch Star Trek, I'm watching, there's aliens, there's fun stories, there's cool characters, there's all these things. But now that I'm rewatching this, I'm finding a greater appreciation for these bottle episodes that are about relationship. They are about the characters, and they're such good stories. And this can be placed in any franchise of any genre. This could be on Full House. You know what I mean? This could be on Stranger Things. This could be on Battlestar Galactica. It could be anywhere. This story works anywhere, and it's a really good one.
I want to give a little directing highlight to Les Landau.
Uh-huh.
There was a moment there when Odo went to relieve Jimenez of his duties. He said, I'll take over and I'll watch from here.
Good memory. Jimenez was his name. Yeah, I had to look it up.
Yeah, and actually, I'm glad that we actually had a Latino name in there. Just a little side note. I said, okay.
I totally agree that it wasn't just a Hispanic dude, but a Hispanic name. And, this is still the 90s, which that kind of stuff was still just coming up. And I noticed that too. That's really cool. Yeah,
so shout out to them for making a point of doing that and using the ethnic name. I liked it. But I wanted to say, as far as credit to Les Landau, there was a moment there when Quark, after Shakar leaves the quarters, Nana's Kira's quarters, and it looks like they had hooked up that night, and he leaves. And then Odo wants to have a word with Kira, and she leaves. And as he's turning towards the camera, the backdrop goes really dark, almost black, and only thing in the foreground is just a close-up shot on Odo's face. And I thought that was just a good touch there to emphasize how he was feeling.
Right.
It was an alone moment. It was a desperation type of thing. And I thought that was a great director choice for Les to kind of end that scene on that shot.
Totally agree. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, also, Cirroc, since you are a pro at this, what do you think about... I mean, come on. What do you think about Quark's PJs? Pretty amazing, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful.
I'm not sure if that's PJs or if that's the suit that you wear when you're training dogs how to bite something.
I know. Or maybe he was just working under his car. Maybe he was trying to fix a car or something. What car? Shakar.
Shakar. Yeah, Shakar.
I know. I was going to say, we missed it. We totally should have started singing to him. I'm sure he would have loved it. Duncan, we would have been like, Duncan, which 80s remake do you like with the name of Shakar? Do you like Shakakar? Or do you like, we like Shakars that go boom? And he'd be like, I like leaving.
Yeah, like, I'm too classy for this. Thank you very much. I didn't get a doctorate for this. But no, he might like Shakar Wash.
Oh, yes. No, not never mind. That's very good. That Shakar Wash. It's a big win right there.
What about the special effects of them in the elevator? Is that what you expected? Like, expected from Odo to save the day? I mean, I didn't
Okay.
expect that he would do that.
Thank you for bringing that up, because otherwise, if you didn't, I would still be trying to think of ways to say Shakar to match something as good as what you just did. So you're letting me off the hook there. But also thank you for bringing that up, because that is exactly what I wanted to
There it
talk
is.
about. That's right, number
There
7.
it is.
So here we go. When Odo puts his hands out and bends the steel of the turbo lift, or the thing inside the turbo lift, to stop it like brakes, it would have been so freaking hot from the friction of everything that was going on that the metal would have turned red, and we would have been like, whoa, the metal's red. Or at the very least, his gooey hands would have started sizzling, and it would start smelling like scrambled eggs or something. And we didn't see any, he didn't even go like afterwards or anything like that. Come on, what are we, stupid?
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I did think that was a little bit, there was something there, and I think you called it out. It was something there that I was like, is that, like, wouldn't his hands go through the metal at some point? Would he be able to bend it?
All right.
Much? So there was a little bit of that in my own watching that. Like,
It also showed that Odo is incredibly strong. He
Yeah.
fully was bending metal without breaking a goose sweat. But whatever, it was cool, but it did make us go like, oh my God, Odo is very, very strong. Plus, if metal bends, the metal wouldn't bend like this. It would bend kind of like this, it'd be like, not like,
Yeah, he turned himself into a hydraulic press. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then, the other moment, how when he magically put that belt on, she's like, oh, why don't you wear a belt? And he's like, oh, well, how about now? And he kind of just put the belt. He just added the belt, right? I don't know about you, but I was thinking discount double check. I was thinking he should have done one of these, belt moves with Aaron Rodgers or something.
I'm sorry, hang on. A discount double check? I'm not familiar.
Oh yeah, that's Aaron Rodgers' official, belt move. When he does the touchdown, he always throws that belt on him.
But why is it called a discount double check?
Because Aaron Rodgers was doing State Farm commercials at the time, and then they kind of
Okay, now I get it. Okay.
They named that the discount double check, but it is a State Farm thing. But it has to do with just that belt move, like it's like, bring me my belt.
I want to see Chris Paul doing that then.
Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers has the. I think he has the
trademark.
He has a trademark on that one. There was also some beautiful station shots in this episode. I noticed that there were some close-ups of the station that I thought were on point, really good graphics. I like to see different angles and different, looks of the station, and they actually brought that into this one.
Yeah, I really love seeing the station. I feel like you guys were so spoiled that, like, you got to spend 7 years on an entire studio, an entire stage, I should say, that was basically turned into the promenade. And I'm just like, God, that just sounds like so much fun to always be acting in a different nook and a different cranny, and all their attention to detail. It just seems amazing. And yeah, every time we see a different scene in a different spot, it does make, my little nerd heart fantasize about, like, if it were real, how cool would it be to just be there? And even if it weren't, just acting on there would be fun,
It's funny because when they show Odo's room, it looks like a kid's playground. Like, it has this weird jungle gym thing here and a hamster wheel in the corner. And you're like, he doesn't even decorate his room for like the possibility of having guests, right? Hey, you can sit down here. I have a sofa or whatever it is.
Oh,
he just has like weird jungle gym equipment.
Well, because of if you'll recall, another adorable scene was between him and Worf, where we find out why he doesn't accommodate guests because he doesn't want guests, and he was telling them, like he was like, be careful about making it too accommodating for people, and and then Worf says the only person that drops by is Chief O'Brien, and then Odo says, just don't make it too comfortable for them or too friendly or whatever it was, and then Worf like almost looked like frightened. He's like, of course not. That would encourage them doing it again, or whatever he said.
Yes.
A repeat purpose.
That would invite subsequent visits.
Yes, that's what it was, subsequent visits. But he almost looked like appalled, like, oh, God, of course I would not and make it easier for them.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Do you think I should be more difficult with the chief? Perhaps I should be more.
Yeah, that actually was my favorite scene. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
I love that scene. And you know what? Also a little set decoration shout out. They had Kira's apartment in this, and I really haven't seen her place that much, but it had a nice kind of Bajoran zen to it. It looks like, looked like her place. I don't know how to put that in any other words, but it just looked like, well put together, the furniture, the pillows on the sofa. I just like the zen of her space. I thought it was pretty nice in this episode as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't remember we must have seen it before, but there are a lot of different little sets.
Like that. Yeah. But then, going back to what Duncan was saying, they surrounded the main ops and all the quarters. Like, for example, Kira's place and all the other quarters, Sisko's quarters, with this beautiful velvet star space drop background. And I brought it up earlier because one of the things Duncan was talking about was even in between takes, you actually still feel like you're on a space station. And that couldn't be any more true, because that was one of the things that really sold you. When you were even just hanging out and at craft service, you still somehow felt like you were on this spaceship.
See,
kind of weird.
And that's what makes us all so jealous. That is so cool, man. That is so cool because we could totally picture it. We do have to run. Before we go, everybody, please remember to like and subscribe. Check out our Patreon at patreon.com/the7th-rule. All the information is in the description box below. Please share this video and tell your friends. Let's get more people to watch this because, come on, this is Deep Space Nine. It's awesome and we love it. And the final thing is Jake Sisko guesses the IMDb score.
All right. We had so much stuff to get to. I'm going to guess the IMDb score, but I do want to just do two little quick highlights. One was when Kira sits in Odo's office. She sits there slumped with her feet kind of up on the desk. It's kind of a masculine sitting position and a relaxed position. Mm-hmm. I love that she does that. I just wanted to highlight that because she's not this, prissy, ladylike person who has to sit all perfect. She just relaxes and she is herself. And also, really quickly, I want to give a shout out to the line that I loved, I think probably the most. I had to rewind it a few times because I just loved the way Rene Auberjonois said it. And that was when he was giving the report of what was going on. And eventually he said he caught one of the couples having intimacy behind the information kiosk on the second level.
Yeah.
And I just...
Well, that's what it was. They liked having their meetings because they were gossiping. This was their fun little gossip moment. And it's the cutest well, we can talk about it a little bit more on the other side in the free-for-all because that was so cute. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we got that in. But IMDb-wise, I think this was a very, like you said, I'm starting to really love these bottle episodes. Mm-hmm. And this one I would give a solid 8 to. This is it.
Right. Well, the IMDb scorers, the fans that rated it, gave it a 7.3. And that's kind of to be expected because there's not, it is a bottle episode. There's not a lot that happens. It's all relationship stuff. But man, this is some of the best writing. This is so Star Trek.
It is. It's good Star Trek.
Anyway, so we'll take a quick break and we'll see everybody on the other side on the free-for-all, and it's going to be crazy. On the 7th rule, I mean. Oh, wait. Let's also, before we flip over to the other side, let's give a big special shout out and thank you to Miss Carmen Shamwell, PJ Tomas, TJ Jackson-Bey, Bill Victor,
Arucan,
Yvette Blackmon, Dennis Koch, Homer Frizzell, Eve England, and Marie Segal, Titus Mohler, Tim Baum, Dr. Susan V. Gruner, Robert Weissburg, or Weissburg, we'll have to ask him if it's a V or a W sound, and Darlena Marie. Now we'll flip over on the other side on the free-for-all. We'll be right back.
And welcome back to the 7th rule. we're here at the free-for-all, joined by Homer Frizzell. Woo! Woo! Dr. Anne-Marie Segal. Woo! And Cirroc Lofton. Woo! And Ryan T. Husk. Woohoo!
And also Melissa Longo.
Oh, and
Woohoo! Amazing.
Aloha.
I think she should do it every time.
So yeah, we were talking about this episode, Crossfire, and Homer was like, please don't ask us one of your stupid questions, Ryan. Can we just talk about this great episode? And I was outnumbered, so let's do that. Anne-Marie wants to know if we talked about the belt. Did we,
yeah,
Sarah?
and in the comments below, everybody has to mention if they liked Odo with or without belt.
Ooh. Oh, she shook her neck when she said it too.
Marie, what did you like better?
Oh, it's so hard to say. Like, I think I agreed with Kieran. I like belt because it just made his lines look a little bit more interesting.
His lines? What?
His lines.
His outline. It defined his waist a little. Gave you something interesting to look at.
Okay, so this is legit. Okay, so yeah, you guys, in the chat and in the comments below, belt or no belt? Melissa, what do you think?
I like the belt.
Yeah.
I like the belt.
Homer, belt or no belt?
I don't get the purpose of the belt beyond delineating between the top and the bottom. It doesn't put anything in it, so far as I can tell. It doesn't hold up his pants. Mm-hmm. So it seems to me like it's a fashion accessory. Yeah. And so I say no belt, though I may be in the minority amongst everyone here.
So is belt not part of the uniform? Or how come he gets to pick and choose what part of the uniform to wear?
Right. Do the other Bajorans in uniform, do they have the belt or not?
I love that Bajoran uniforms might have optional accessories to customize their look a little. It's so funny.
So Anne-Marie, what do you think, belt or no belt?
I do think belt.
He likes belt.
Needs more stuff to look at. He's so otherwise he's just a little bland.
Okay. I actually thought about this and I decided before when I was watching this that he actually looks better with no belt, or maybe it's just because I'm used to it. I feel like it's just normal to not have the belt. And the reason I want to jump ahead is to tie it 2-2. So Cirroc, this is it. You're the tiebreaker. Deal or no deal?
All right. Here's my logic. I was watching this belt request, and what bothered me about the belt request in itself was that Shakar was wearing a belt. So when she said you should wear a belt, I thought it was because you should look more like Shakar.
Ooh,
nice. That's bitchy.
And therefore, I would not wear the belt because it looked too much more like Shakar, and I didn't want to try to compete with him.
Right. So pretty much what we're saying, guys, in the comments below, it sounds like dudes say no belt and women say belt. Break the rules, guys.
Well, I kind of want to say no belt now.
Well, yeah, I was thinking that too because you made a good point. I didn't even think of that.
Well, then I
Yeah,
say belt.
But if you're going to be listening to the girl that you have a big crush on, you probably want to follow her advice and do what she says, especially if that's somebody that you really love or care about.
Did the belt show up before, or did he just exactly know what she was talking about
It
and
was
created it?
like back in the
I
day.
wanna,
I think
go
it was
back
when
and
they
watch,
went into the.
episode 1 or 2 again.
I think it was when they went back in time, and Odo was during the occupation. That episode that showed Odo during the occupation, and he had a belt. And I think they mentioned it. They said something like, "Oh, you used to have a belt then," or something like that. I think that's where it showed up, was when we saw him during the Cardassian occupation. He had a belt.
He did have a belt earlier in the earlier seasons.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I could be wrong.
Oh man.
You know,
I'm
and the
so
other
into
thing
this.
is that, Ryan, you always talk about how you like the dress uniforms, and in this episode, they were wearing their dress uniforms with the gold.
Right. I wanted to talk about
You're
that.
ridiculous. Those dress uniforms are hideous. I can't stand them.
Whoa.
Whoa,
But
I
they're
like
okay.
those.
Yeah.
I like those.
Ugh.
I liked him too.
They're hideous.
Yeah,
I like-
four
I like
to
have so
one,
much
Anne
respect
Marie.
for
4 to
Bashir
1,
for
Anne Marie.
losing them.
You're wrong.
Hideous.
No, it's 4-2. Bashir hates them too. That's why he
I don't see
couldn't
him.
find his.
Oh, 4-2. Oh yeah. Yeah, he's not here.
Yeah.
And so Odo doesn't have a dress uniform. Like maybe that's the belt was to make him have like a dress, like to put his uniform up into the dress code. You know. I don't know. Just
Seriously.
guessing.
You should
We
have had
also-
a dress uniform option.
Yeah, and we also
Yeah.
saw Kira's dress uniform, which I don't know if we've seen it before. And it was like this. What color was that? Was that like an indigo? What was that?
Like a
The
teal,
mom. Oh,
some kind of a teal, I think. Or something.
It was like a purplish indigo
Purplish?
type color.
Yeah.
I think the color on
Looked
my
good, though.
computer is off. I have to go back and watch it
yeah.
again.
I'm like, wait, I need to check my TV settings.
This is like
It was-
4 or 5 different colors.
I thought it was bluish.
Yeah, it was bluish.
Yeah, bluish.
I think indigo is like
That's way too dark.
purple and blue.
Indigo
mixed
is like
together, but
a
it was a little
dark
lighter.
blue ink, I think.
Maybe it's like a cadet blue.
Yeah, cadet blue.
No.
There you go. Kind of like a
Back my
slate,
Crayola
a
experience.
slate gray,
Yeah.
bluish,
You
metallic sheen
You
to
see
it.
the
That's what I picked
purple
up.
in the
Oh.
background here? It's just
Yes.
a little bit bluer than that, but it's close to that color.
Yeah.
Or maybe
Yeah,
Ryan's
definitely.
shirt there.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Let's see if I can
didn't
find
see
it.
that, Melissa. I saw
Uh,
a
But
more
It's
blue
blue.
green. I didn't see the purple. I didn't see any purplish in it. But I did
Do
think
I
that her
have-
hair was different though, because
Yeah.
Nana's hair was like more
poofy.
poofy. Wasn't it more poofy or something? Yeah.
Poofy is such a great word.
She went like hardcore poof. I was like, wow, she's kind of impressed.
And she has worn it before.
Oh, she
But-
has worn it.
Yeah, with Lenara Khan. That episode.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
oh my
Ryan's
gosh. How good of a friend was
Yeah,
Quark in this
scouring.
episode? I just love it so much.
So cute.
Yeah.
He was a good friend. He was telling him the truth and
Cutest
giving him the
thing.
best advice.
I know.
He
and,
was like,
no-
either you tell her or you just forget
I got
about
it.
See, it's like a purpley blue.
You gotta lighten these things though. But yeah, see, it's
Yeah.
kind of purplish
Yeah.
bluish.
I guess you're right on that.
Anyway, so the point is, Cirroc, what do you think of the dress uniforms? We like them, right? But I don't remember seeing Kira's. You said Melissa that it was in a different episode as well. Huh?
Yeah, where Dax and Lenara Khan rekindle their
and rejoin.
relationship.
Yep, rejoined.
And Quark has his dress uniform on behind Ryan
I
right
was
there.
just like, are those Frenemy pajamas?
This
Those
guy.
are so cute.
Yeah. He just needs a stroller.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, pacifier.
So the best was like the other day during the live chat for Little Green Men where Nog sells his childhood pajamas during his like garage sale at Quarks. Katie Carr in the live chat was like, am I the only one who wants Ferengi pajamas? Like, actually, yes, especially looking at Quarks. So cute.
Cirroc, you would sport these to cosplay at Star Trek Las Vegas, right?
You know, I probably would wear that if they were going to set me on fire. I think I'd have enough time to roll around in it before it goes out.
That's what I was thinking too.
It's like a frumpy Jake Sisko outfit.
So random.
Yeah, it is a frumpy Jake Sisko. You know, let me ask you: Would Odo's hair be out of place if it's like?
That's what I was just pointing at.
If it's like if he's like this liquid.
Occasionally it does.
Form.
Well, yes, because it's when he takes whatever form that he assumes, it becomes that thing. If that makes sense. If he becomes a rock, he's a rock. If he becomes a bird, he's a bird.
Well, okay.
So if he has hair, it's going to be hair.
Along those lines, there was a nitpick that I didn't get a chance to bring up last week, speaking of changelings. And I know, Homer, I know.
Are you a
No,
changeling?
this brings up a question. Does Odo comb his hair, or does it just go into place by itself?
Yeah,
It's like a little
That's
out of
my
place.
point, Homer. You're picking up what I'm putting down.
I'm picking it up.
Gross.
Maybe his new belt, he keeps a comb in it.
Well, he could use
my
his
gosh.
finger as a comb.
He could actually just, it's a comb.
Yeah.
See, this is a comb now.
It's a
Yeah.
comb.
But he could
Brian, what's
also,
your nitpick?
his hair he could just think it and it would go back into place.
Yeah,
Right.
he's obviously not thinking about it right now.
Right. He's
He's too
distracted
depressed, yeah.
in that photo.
So here's what I was thinking last week was when the changeling is infiltrating and talking like Miles O'Brien.
Mhm.
Here's the thing. How do changelings imitate voices?
It
just
drives me crazy.
Just because you can look like something, that's an exterior thing because they can see it and they can replicate it. They can duplicate
because they like
but they
replicate
can't
the voice vocal cords.
But how? You can't see it. How do you know exactly how to fine-tune these vocal cords to make it sound exactly like that dude you see over there or you saw in a picture?
Eyesight, and they can tell by like this little like stuff in your neck.
Brings up the question, how do they resonate sound anyway? How does goo resonate sound?
Yeah, it should sound bubbly.
But also,
Yeah.
it drives me nuts. Like, how do they know people's backstories to imitate
So-
them?
Well, that was my thing. I was like,
Yeah.
how do
And-
they know everything about O'Brien?
It drives me nuts.
I think, I'll just say, I think Miles O'Brien did sound more bubbly in that episode. He certainly seemed
true.
happier than usual.
Effervescent, right?
Yeah, effervescent, like La Croix. Yes.
Yes, he did.
No,
actually.
but with this particular one, a changeling becoming Miles O'Brien, it's not like he was anywhere nearby. So they're actually relying upon some sort of digital records that they have as well to actually make this happen. So it's a
And
leap
months
faith.
of practice. He has to be like, wait, how does he
Yeah.
say it? How did,
Wait, what is a limerick? How do I do that?
They're linguistic experts.
Yes, that's good, Anne-Marie. I like that. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
But Odo could have easily had changed into Shakar, right? It's like, oh, you like this kind of guy?
Oh my gosh, that's like creepy,
that would be
Farsi level.
creepy.
No, but, well, that brings up another point. So it seems like there's a lot of practice that's involved since Odo can't change into a human.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Right,
Yeah.
right. He can't do the exact face. Bummer.
But he can do a dead-on whatever
a
mouse
dead-on
and a...
seagull. When I
Yeah,
got
that
a
thing.
non-appearance mention in the last episode, or 2 episodes ago. Yeah, I know, it's
Oh, yeah,
crazy.
that's right. Did you hear that, Cirroc? Anne-Marie thinks she should have a NAM, a non-appearance mention, because we mentioned a seagull.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Very clever. Very
Mhm.
clever.
I was waiting to hear my name go on the scoreboard, but it never happened.
Oh.
Homer, Melissa, what do you think? Should we?
Yeah.
Is that a NAM? And then every time we say like move along home, we have to give Homer a.
So that's short. I'm pulling for a reference to a home run and Take Me Out to the Hollow Suite.
Okay,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Or when Odo gets mixed in with Curzon and his hair gets frizzier.
I don't see how that applies to me.
Frizzell, that's your last name.
Oh.
Remember?
Oh.
I appreciate the lengths to which you go, Ryan.
Well, if I go long, no, that's Melissa gets a NAM.
Oh, wow. This is getting worse.
Anyway, so about this episode, you guys have any other thoughts? I mean, it really was all joking aside, it was a great episode.
It's so good.
It's you're feeling, well, at the end I'm feeling sad. It's like
yeah.
Odo is resigned to the fact that Kira is in love with Shakar, and in a way, like the way that Renee did it, you feel like he's happy for her, sad for himself, and is going to go back to his job, which is, the thing that he's been doing under Cardassian rule and in here as well. And he's going to content himself with that. So, and I was like, wait, it's over? And I was like, okay, that makes sense. There's more to come.
Right. And the one thing that we didn't touch on, which is kind of where one of the things you're going with here, was when he kind of has this realization, almost like a self-preservation thing, where he says he doesn't want to do the meetings anymore. And then that really kind of breaks Kira's heart. Well, she kind of breaks her heart because she's like, I thought
can't
we
do
were
it then or anytime. I'm busy 26/7.
Yeah. It's kind of like a friend of mine told me a long time ago that he finally had the guts to ask like the hottest girl in school out back in high school. And I was like, no way. What'd she say? And he's like, she said, oh, I'm busy this Friday. And then he said, well, what about, another time? And she said, I'm really busy.
Yeah.
That's kind of I was like, yikes.
Yeah, but the one other thing was that, like, it was, I don't care, like, even if Kira's just friends with Odo, it was so rude making him, like, follow, like, 12 steps behind them on all their dates. It was so awkward and weird. Like, even if you're not romantically involved, who would ever do that to their friend? It was
it was Odo's choice.
I thought it made sense because he's the security officer.
Exactly.
I'm just like, I wouldn't be like on a date in front of anybody. Like, it just felt so weird. I was like, keep it in your quarters then or something.
Well, I mean, that's, it's the same as
so
the
cringy.
president having Secret Service follow them around all the time. So
that's true.
Who did you guys feel worse for at the end there, Odo or Kira?
Odo.
bad for both of them.
Odo. Yeah.
But Kira was very sad too. She was very sad at the end of that. She was like, why did my friend just cancel our gossip session?
She barely gave it a second thought.
Yeah, she wasn't that sad.
She was destroyed.
And there's this other moment too, like after Odo destroys his living quarters, Quark comes in, and Odo asks him, almost as though Quark is being friendly for a moment, and Quark says, no. And that continues to play out through this as well, even to the very last episode.
It's just so sweet because, like, Odo's never been able to talk about relationships with anybody ever until Quark. I just love that. It's such a cute friendship, and, like, I just love them together. This is such a great episode for the two of them.
Who do you think loves the other more, Odo or Quark?
Oh my God, that's so hard.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Oh.
Who loves the other more?
Yeah.
I think Quark loves him more because as long as he's friends with him, he's not going to jail.
Yeah. Andy asked for a hug in the end of the series.
No surprise.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow. We're already there, huh? I thought we were in season 4.
Anne-Marie, did it make you cry? Does it make you cry when he asks for a hug?
Not as much as when, like, Tuvok dances for Neelix when Neelix leaves, but it's similar. But Odo actually
Look at those spoilers.
because Odo soundproofed his apartment for him, which was like that's a big step.
It's a big step.
That is a big step.
That's a big step.
You know, another thing we didn't talk about though is how people act when they're in love, and I think that was another thing that was resonating in this episode because Odo actually lost the thing that makes Odo Odo, which is his diligence and his preparedness.
So true.
And he like lost it, and that's, I mean, those of us, you know, when we get in love, we kind of lose ourselves and sometimes lose the good attributes of what we are about too.
Sorry, I just want to say, Homer, I was trying to remember what that line was from. It's a big step, and now I remember. It was what Sisko said to Cassie. Sorry, that whole time I was like, what?
Big step.
Okay, sorry, go on.
Yeah. Well,
step.
also, I think it brought it home more to Odo since the guy who had screwed up his investigation before, Worf, is the guy that busted the assassination attempt.
Mm-hmm.
And Sisko was a little ununderstanding. I don't know how you say it. He didn't. Cisco wasn't that nice to him because, like, Odo's never messed up at his job before, and Cisco was just like, "Get your act together." Like, Odo clearly had personal shit going on, and he wasn't getting like any sort of like the one time in 4 years he's messed up a little. Like, it just seemed like Cisco maybe could have been like, "Oh, what's wrong?" I don't know. He's like that with other officers.
Yeah,
let's talk it out.
He did.
been a little bit
right.
more lenient with Dax if it was Dax, but yeah, Odo, he was kind of a little bit more harsh.
Wait till you see Eddington.
Well, they say to err is human.
Yeah, but to really screw up is Changeling.
Yeah, I thought Sisko was a little bit tough on him. Actually, he didn't say, "Hey, what's wrong? Like, what's going on? Why don't you?"
And Odo just got back from Earth, like trying to fight his own people, like being zapped and shocked, like all the time, like.
But I did like Worf's line when he did when he apprehended the killer and he was the attempted killer, and he said, "Your crew is trained very well." Or something.
You should be commended.
Yeah, that was so nice to see.
Yeah, but it didn't make Odo feel any better. He's like, I was standing outside while Kira was humping all night, and you solved the crime, and I'm just sitting here with scraggly hair.
Like, why did he insist on standing outside of her apartment? I was just like, dude, let the other guy do his shift. Don't be a glutton for punishment.
Yeah, I was looking at Odo's place. I was like, why doesn't Odo have like a sofa or something for somebody to sit down and like some normal thing? He's got a hamster
just
wheel,
a jungle gym
stuff.
But he does have the potted plant from Kira, which is like so sweet to see still there.
Isn't that what he threw against the wall in this episode?
Yeah. But I think it's there later.
It was still there.
He like puts it back in.
Yeah, he did throw the plant across the wall.
Still there.
And there was great directing too, because after he throws that plant against the wall, I don't know if you remember this, but he swings and like hits some vase that comes directly at the camera. Goes whoosh, whoosh, like that. It was perfect. I wondered, like, did they get that on their first take? Because that was pretty perfect.
There was that moment too, and I think it was this one, where Odo, I think, is giving Worf advice about how to be less welcoming to guests.
Mm-hmm.
No, that was so.
And Worf goes, "I will be less hospitable."
Quarters.
Yeah.
I love that. Like O'Brien's identified as the problem. So funny.
Yeah.
So true.
He's the only one who has a tendency to drop by.
But see, that's where Worf and Odo kind of bonded. They kind of bonded over that conversation of not liking other people bugging them.
It's so cute.
Yeah, and also being really precise about how everything is like anally placed. I could walk around my place blindfolded.
Yeah. Homer, who do you think is a better basketball player, Odo or Worf?
If Odo is not using his abilities, then Worf.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Worf is going. He's going to. It might be called an offensive foul, but I think you're going to move first, so you're going to get called instead. So I think he's going to the basket, and you're going to be afraid to try to stop him and maintain your ground. So I'm going to go Worf.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
We will destroy them.
Death to the opposition.
Worf is the Zion Williamson of Star Trek.
And then also, like, I actually really want to like Shakar because he's such an improvement from Vedic Brile. But he seems so selfish. Like, he's giving everybody tons of extra work, announcing he's gonna like walk along the promenade or go do this that's unscheduled. It's just like, I don't know. He seems like a little bit self-centered.
So Shakar, I think, would also be good at basketball. He's like 6'5".
Right?
Yeah.
He seems to have some moves too.
Yeah.
I didn't see him self-centered. I just felt like everybody wanted stuff from him. Like he's like that guy that everybody wants to talk to, and he has an opinion on so many different things that
and so does every Bajoran.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was getting all this advice from his guy just before he went on the promenade. Okay, remember to talk about this. Tell him this will be coming sooner, and remember to enunciate.
Also, one little thing too, it is interesting to note, was this the happiest we've seen Kira so far when she opens the door to her quarters and she sees Odo and Shakar's coming out and she goes, "Good morning." And she's like, "Oh, the world is great. Oh, hi, Odo. What are you doing, Stan? Come on in. Oh, I'm so glad you're the first person to know. The birds are singing." Is that the happiest we've ever seen her?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think she was pretty happy with Barile as well.
She seems even more glowing. He kind of had that effect on Beverly Crusher too in Sub Rosa.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but Barile died, right? He's dead. I wonder if he had a Barile at sea. Anyway, Sub Rosa.
Oh no.
He did, Melissa.
You gotta.
Yeah.
You gotta stop.
Yeah.
Quit while we're ahead. No, I think Shakar is like, I really couldn't find much flaw with him. Like, he was a principled person, even when we saw him earlier fighting over the reclamation of, the reclamation for the soil. And he was really standing on principle and freedom fighter, I think you really can't find much flaw with the guy.
I'd be exactly like Kira.
Well-spoken. Yeah, I mean, not much flaws with this guy. And like he was, even when he's confiding to Odo about how he feels, he has these really, he's not like, "Yo, look at her ass."
He has such a nice way about him.
He's so, he's really a gentleman, and I like that about his approach. So I don't think there was any flaw with him. And actually, I think that's what Odo was so upset about, because he couldn't find a flaw in this guy. He couldn't say, "You shouldn't be with him. He's a liar. He's deceiving you. He's this, he's that."
He even charmed Odo when they had their little meeting.
Yeah, what do you think I should do?
Yeah,
you tell me.
So cute.
So
that's the worst, when he's asking Odo for advice. Yeah. He's like, "Do you think she likes me?" I want to talk about that actually earlier. Was the great moment that Odo had, that Renee had as an actor, where he's like, "Has she told you that she likes me? Have you heard anything?" And he stops and thinks about it, and he goes, "No." And there was just so much there.
It was so cold. It was so cold. Like, get over it, get off of it, change subjects. He was trying to get him off that path so hard, but didn't work. That's all right. We know it's going to be a happy ending on this story, so don't you worry, fellas.
Have you watched ahead?
No, I just have a feeling. I have a deep feeling.
Okay.
Can't leave this guy hanging, man. He's worked so hard. He doesn't have a plan B. So it's Kira or bust for him. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, I guess that's about it for us this week, right, guys? Any final thoughts before we go? By the way, awesome shirt, walking art made by Melissa. Here it is.
Nice.
The Great River will provide. And it's a Ferengi face. You can get it walking art made by Melissa. You can find the link in the description box below. Get yourself a shirt, get yourself a chat pack shirt, all kinds of stuff. Some virtual TrekCon cool things. Like, what was Henceforth? Lots of great stuff.
Henceforth.
Henceforth, yes.
So any final thoughts before we go, guys?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Hey, Ryan.
That's the final thought. Thank you, Ryan.
Well, if we are thanking, I would like to thank Renee for an incredible
Beautiful.
performance. Really, really good. This was an Odo episode.
Mhm.
And, or as I called him, Constable Friendzone at this point. I called him that when Kira hugged him and said, I'm so glad you're the first
Just
to know.
stop.
And he's just eating shit. He's just eating shit. Anyway.
Poor Odo.
Yeah.
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 Whatever. He's playing the long game.
Long
Yeah,
day.
so long.
That's a nam for Melissa. All right.
Oh,
Oh, no, wait, she's here. That's nope, she's here. That's not a non-appearance.
Oh, that's an am.
Yeah.
get away.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Homer Frizzell, Dr. Marie Segal, Melissa Longo. Special thanks to Duncan Regehr for coming and joining us and imparting his wisdom on us. And I guess that's about it for us, right, Cirroc? We did it.
We did it. We did it.
All right. Right. Oh, Melissa, are we supposed to do the woos on the way out too?
Yeah.
All right.
Woo.
Woo.
Woo!
Well, how about it? Woo.
Ah,
Oh,
woo.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Nice. Good one. All right, everybody at home, don't forget to comment and share this around. You know, check us out on social media. And always remember, Homer, what were you
Belt or no belt?
Right. These are the hard-hitting questions.
Mm-hmm.
Always
To belt,
remember
not to belt.
the 7th rule.